Well, Pep Guardiola made 10 changes to his Manchester City side last night, including dropping Erling Haaland to the bench in what proved a costly error by the City boss. They lost 2-0 at the Etihad against Bayer Leverkusen, and Guardiola admitted he was being too nice in his attempts to give players minutes. Despite appearing in the second half, Haaland didn't score for just the fourth time this season. And how about this? In each of those games, City have lost. So if you stop Haaland, do you beat Manchester City?
They try to do it. There's never a player, but yeah, when you are in a big team, you have to, show off and yeah, it's a lack of the other one, but everyone, the guys who come from the bench was the same, and maybe players that play regularly lately, and maybe we'll be confident for the new players come. Always I like to be sometimes too nice and to be involved everyone, but honestly, it didn't work, and I have to accept it.
Right, let's get straight into it. We've still got Jody Morris in the studio and City fan Matthew Kerr joined us. Right, Jody, I'm going to start with a question for you. So Erling Haaland, as we've said, he's failed to score in 4 games this season, and Manchester City have lost all 4 of those. How big a problem is this for Pep Guardiola?
Yeah, I think it is a problem. I think that it's certainly looking like if he doesn't score, they don't get a chance. I mean, in fairness, him only playing after an hour or something last night doesn't give you the best chance of scoring anyway. But if you look back at the most successful City sides over the past few years, you always had people chipping in with goals. Mahrez, Sterling, De Bruyne, Gundogan.
Silva, yeah. But
you don't find anybody in this group of Man City players where you think, OK, you're going to chip in with double figures or even like sort of high single digits. So it's certainly looking like a problem.
What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, there's players across the board that are capable of scoring those type of goals, but not enough of them are stepping up at the moment. I mean, we've had glimpses this season. Foden's got a couple of goals here and there, but ultimately, I can't argue against it. Erling Haaland's been our top goal scorer, and behind that, it's looked pretty bleak. The likes of Savinho, Doku. I mean, Doku has shown promise this season, but Savinho especially is becoming really frustrating as a City fan to watch. So hopefully something changes, but at the moment, yeah, it's looking a bit bleak.
Yeah, looking bleak, but how worried are you about it? Because you've listed some players there. There's loads of players who are capable of doing it, but they're not. And this over-reliance on Haaland is something we've talked about for quite a while. We're not far off December now, and it's still. I mean, I know last night was Champions League, but in the league, you know the stat: your second top scorer's own goals.
I know. It's not a great watch, but at the same time, if any team has Erling Haaland, I'm sure there's going to be an over-reliance. You know, you look at Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, it's pretty similar. Maybe not as extreme, but it is pretty similar. You've got a top goal scorer in Haaland, but a frustration of mine is Omar Marmoush. You know, we brought him in last January for 70 million. Came in, hit the ground running, scored hat-tricks, got the goal of the season last year. I think people forget that as well. And he's been so limited to minutes. I know he had an injury early on in the season, but I think Pep trying to squeeze in the both of them. We've not really seen Haaland and Marmoush be paired together. You see last night we're chasing the goal. Haaland comes on, like Jody said, probably a bit too late in the game. But he takes him off for Marmoush. I think it would have made a lot more sense to keep a player like Marmoush on, who carries a lot more threat than a player like Savinho.
By the way, with Bayern Munich in the league, Diaz has got 6, Gnabry's got 4. There's 6 for Michael Olise as well. So in fairness to Bayern Munich, they're not as reliant on Kane. But Jody, did you hear there about Pep Guardiola saying that he felt he was too nice yesterday in making those 10 changes? What did he mean by that?
Well, he's obviously trying to give people games, isn't he? He's obviously got. I get that feeling as a coach or a manager. I feel that you do want to try and give minutes or you want to give games, but I'd much prefer to do that in a game where either you're on a fantastic run yourself as a team. I don't know how you feel as fans, Matthew, but I don't think that Man City are looking the greatest of late anyway. So I'd rather just try and get up to speed with the players that are going to be our main players going into the bigger and better games. How do you feel? Because for me, 10 changes is more like a Carabao Cup sort of change rather than a Champions League game against a good team in Leverkusen.
I can't disagree with that at all. I mean, one of the main ones was seeing the goalkeeper change, James Trafford coming in. That, no offence, looking at that looks like we've qualified, rotating that much, or like you say, in a Carabao Cup game or something. Yeah, it's not just Haaland, it's ripping out the whole spine. And, you know, you're missing Foden, you're missing Diaz, you're missing Donnarumma. These players have been massive for us this season. Yeah, we've not been perfect, but you want to build momentum, and you need your big players to do that. I wouldn't have minded last night 4 or 5 changes in and around them guys, but yeah, you need your big guys in big games, and last night was a big game, and we failed to win.
And in the league, we've talked about this sort of already, you and I, is that your run is actually quite nice in the league up until the new year. But in the Champions League, how big a blow could that be last night? Because your next one is Real Madrid away. And for Manchester City, they want to be in the top 8. They don't want to be going into that extra round. They want to go straight through the last 16.
100%. And, you know, looking at the bigger picture, that's another frustration of last night because, you know, we're at home, we're playing Leverkusen. They're a top team, but they're not Real Madrid. You know, it's a game that you would favour Man City to win. And now it makes that Madrid away trip even bigger, you know, and that's something that we could have avoided, which is very, very frustrating. And, you know, we know what it's like when you go to Madrid. You have to be pretty much perfect. You have to get the rub of the green. And this City side at the moment, I'm not too sure we can get a result at the Bernabeu. And then you're depending on our last 2 fixtures, and anything can happen across the board then. So, yeah, it's going to be difficult now.
Yeah, disappointing night last night, of course. Matthew, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.